If you want to move back into the ditch, where do you put it? D equals forward, R is reverse, which will take us back into the ditch. Excuse me. Our first speaker today is a native of Western North Carolina. He's endorsed by the Sierra Club and League of Conservation Voters and voted for the historic climate change bill, Wall Street reform, the Lilly Ledbetter Act, Fair Pay Act, the Credit Card Act, and the Education, Jobs, and Medicaid Assistance Act. This act brought $30 million to North Carolina to save teachers. What's that? What did I say? $300 million. $300 million to North Carolina teachers, police, and firefighters for jobs, and an additional $300 million for Medicaid in North Carolina. And this bill was paid for by closing tax loopholes that allowed corporations to keep offshore accounts.
Yes. Go, go.
He continues to fight for small businesses, rural development, and jobs, jobs, and jobs. Our first speaker is Congressman Heath Scholler.
It's great to be out here today.
Yes.
Voting. Awesome. I tell you what, talking about jobs, the Chinese just invested $700 billion in green, clean energy. We cannot and we must not allow any country to get ahead of our country for job development, and most importantly is to make sure that we continue to keep the environment that we have, the beautiful mountains, the beautiful creeks and streams. It's all about that great seal, and I said it last night in my debate. When you go up to Ethan Allen Furniture, and every time you open the drawer, it says, "Made in America."
You're a hate monger. You're right with the Democrats less than any other member of the Democratic Party.
I tell you, we got so many great opportunities here to make a difference in our community, to make sure our teachers have the correct amount of money to teach our next generation, to make sure that our firefighters have the equipment to make our homes safe and make them safe when they're out fighting the fires, and our police to make sure that they have what they need to be able to keep our communities safe. I can't stress enough. Get out the vote. We got some great folks. We need to make sure we get Patsy back down to Raleigh. Make sure we put Jane Weldon back in her seat. And Susan Fisher to make sure she's back. Keep up your hard work. I'm very proud of it. Keep up your work. Congratulations. Thanks for all your hard work. God bless you all.
Thank you, Congressman Scholler. Our next speaker is Susan Dodson Smith, better known as Smitty to many of you. She is representing Elaine Marshall for U.S. Senate. Here's Smitty.
Hey folks, we'd rather have Elaine here, and I'm so grateful that I get to talk to you, but I want to tell you this is a good time to be jazzed up because we've got a real important thing we got to do. Now, if you've watched the debates in the last couple of days, you will have seen a mighty stark contrast. We've got Burr promising that he will be consistent and predictable. So, let me suggest that I have a few predictions. I predict that he will continue to vote yes to special interest. I predict he will continue to say yes to filibusters. I predict that he will say yes to tax cuts for only the top 2% of America, and that he will continue to say no to civil rights, no to equal pay for women, no to the working and middle classes, no to extending credit to small businesses, no to regulations protecting us from Wall Street greed. I predict he will lose. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that I think I know somebody else who I might make a few predictions about. With Elaine Marshall, We can predict, because of her track record here in North Carolina, making things effective, making things for everybody in North Carolina work. We can predict yes to tax incentives for small businesses. We can predict yes to ethical behavior. We can predict yes to respecting the rights of all humans. We can predict yes to accountability, yes to campaign reform. We can predict yes to protecting us from the greed that is rampant in Wall Street. And we can predict yes to saving Social Security from privatization, for protecting Medicare, yes to job growth, yes to green jobs, green grids, green power. And with that, I will tell you that we can also predict that it is the green power of the green grassroots across North Carolina that are going to take her and our voice to the United States Senate. Early for Elaine, power for the people. Early for Elaine, power for the people.
Thank you, Smitty. Our next speaker is an Asheville native, a lifelong champion for civil rights, and just recently celebrated his 35th anniversary as pastor of Nazareth First Missionary Baptist Church here in Asheville. Introducing the Reverend Dr. Charles R. Mosley.
I'm very happy to be here today and to say we must move forward. At the mid-election, we cannot lose heart.
That's right.
But in spite of all of the negative comments, all the negative commentaries, news reports, everything that's trying to put Democrats down, we must be encouraged to move forward towards the prize. And we know what the prize is. That is to keep the dream alive. The dream can become a reality.
That's right.
The dream is the rock that has brought Democrats and all America where she is today. And so we keep the dream alive, and we know that if we are not discouraged, that's what they want us to do. They want us to be so discouraged that we won't do the early vote. We won't even vote on the day of election.
That's right.
But we are persuaded,
Yes.
fully persuaded,
Yes.
wholly persuaded that nothing shall separate us from the goal that is before us.
That's right.
And that is to have the majority in the Senate,
Yes.
to have the majority in the Congress, to have the majority in the state. That is our goal. That is our goal. That is our goal. Let us move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Mosley.